Hey guys, Ben Painting. Today we're back once again for another video, and this time we are taking part in the second round of the Grid Series Championship down here at Teamsport Bristol. Now this one's going to be a bit of a chop and change as quite a lot happened but in separate parts. So the layout for this evening, or the format, sorry, included a 15-minute race, which was obviously the grids were decided from qualifying, which was 10 minutes. So we managed to qualify in third position. This was then followed by a 35-minute reverse grid where the top 10 were then shuffled from their results in the first race around, and this would then determine the grids for the second heat. Obviously the positions then put together then determined where everyone would finish overall. So we're going to jump into the footage. What you're seeing now is the first 15-minute race. Now before we get into the rest of the video, if you do enjoy this one, can you please leave a like on the video down below, and if you're new to the channel, if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as I really do appreciate it. Now we're going to jump in here, and you can see that Kelvin has managed to force his way past us going up the ramp. So we did start in third position behind Robbie and Sam, and now we are down into fourth position. I didn't want to put up too much of a fight against Kelvin. See, I'm not too happy as I was getting punted from the rear so much in this one, and it really was quite infuriating. Now obviously when you get hit in the back, it just throws you off your line, throws you off the game, and I just got hit quite a few times early on, and I just lost sort of sight of the two up ahead, and this then led to me losing a position to Kelvin as well. So we are going to jump through this first race quite quickly, as to be honest, not too much really happened. You can see that I'm sat in behind Kelvin now. Obviously Sam and Robbie have created a bit of a gap. Kelvin is starting to breach that gap towards him. However, I just wasn't really able to keep up too well. You can see our lap times at the beginning of the race, 38.249. I do believe our qualifying time in the 10 minutes was a 37.7 second lap time. So it wasn't the quickest at the beginning, and it also wasn't the quickest throughout the whole of the race. You can see our fastest lap so far is our last lap, a 37.751, and this is in fact the final lap of the first 15-minute heat. So we're coming around here. This was in fact our fastest lap in the first heat. So we've just been trundling around in fourth position, pretty much unopposed, if I'm honest, creating a little bit of a gap to the people behind us, but also Kelvin's managed to create a gap to us up ahead. So we come around to the end of this first heat, come around the last couple of corners here, a little bit scruffy, going a little bit wayward, but we try and get the power down as early as possible, and we come across the line with a 37.646, which is a pretty decent time, but it's not quite quick enough to keep up with some of the others up ahead of us. So despite this, we're going to jump into the second heat now, and as you can see, the reverse grid has come into effect for the front 10 drivers, and this positioned us in 7th position for the second heat, which was a little bit longer, and there was all sorts of ruckus going on here at the beginning. You can see Andreas's head is bouncing around like a bobblehead there. We have slipped down to 8th, but then we momentarily gain it back up into 7th. But I knew that Kelvin was going to get a better run on us as we came up the ramp. So I moved over to the side, let him go past. I knew he was quicker than me on the evening. So the plan here was to use Kelvin almost as a bit of a battering ram to try and get past some of the others and try and keep up with him if we can as we get into the later parts of the race. So you can see immediately Ruben Povey up ahead has been absolutely swamped. He's lost a couple of positions, and we come across the line on our first lap with a 41.645. Now we wanted to try and get a head down as quickly as possible and try and make as many positions as we could, because obviously the guys at the front were all going to start to escape the more that we battled with one another. And Andreas has pulled off a really nice move there, managing to slot past Ruben once again, and I knew that it was only a matter of time before Kelvin was going to go for a similar sort of move. So I wanted to try and be behind him when he did it. So you can see everyone is bumping and bashing with one another this early on in the race. So it is quite hectic, but we're just going to try and get our head down, try and put in some solid laps, and just try and escape some of the carnage that is going on around us. Now you can see quite early, I found this was the same in the first heat, where obviously where there's breaks in between some of the sessions, I found that my car felt a little bit off the pace at the beginning. I don't know if it was because I was just driving like an absolute moron, or if the car just felt quite cold and it just cooled down a little bit too much, because I was just really struggling early on in the heats, which usually I don't. I usually find myself to be quite strong when it comes to sort of racing hard at the beginning of a race, but I just found that I was a little bit off the pace. The back end of the kart was sliding out a little bit. I don't know if I was taking some of the wrong lines, and this is sort of beginning to reflect in our lap times. Obviously 38-second lap times, don't really want to be here, want to be down in 37-second lap times, especially at the moment with the track feeling as good as it does. But unfortunately for us, Sam Gaskell has pretty much T-boned us off the racing line and taken a position from us. I thought he was going to give it back to us, if I'm honest, but he hasn't. So we are revealing that Sam Gaskell is in fact a dirty driver. So we're going to follow along behind him. I was a little bit annoyed about that, especially as I lost the position to Kelvin quite early, and the fact he tapped on the back of his car to say let's work together annoyed me a little bit more, if I'm honest. So we're going to carry on here and try and keep up with Sam. Obviously Sam is pretty much one of the fastest drivers at the track at the moment, absolutely smashing it, so we want to try and tag onto the back of him and Kelvin. Obviously these two are really quick, and we want to try and make some moves if we can and try and regain some of the positions that we've lost off the start. Obviously we started in 7th position, we're down to 9th. Now I was a bit confused there on the right hand side. You saw a 5-second penalty board come up. Now, I thought this was for me, when at the end of the race we'll find out that it wasn't actually for me. So I was a bit confused at this point, and I was quite angry, especially as Sam had sent quite a rough move up our inside. I thought that I'd then be given a 5-second penalty. So this sort of threw my head into a bit of a whirlwind at this point, if I'm honest. So I was seeing red, if I'm honest with you. So I just wanted to really get myself back in the game. I think I was driving a little bit angry at this point, so I wasn't driving to the best of my abilities, but I was really confused, especially seeing the black and white flag come out there as well. So I was a little bit confused as to why all of these flags and penalties were getting thrown around, and they all seemed to be pointed in my direction when I was seeing huge amounts of battling coming from all over the track in all shapes and sizes. Now Sam's managed to squeeze past the driver up ahead of us there, Aaron, and we have been able to follow him through, squeeze our way back up into 7th, which is where we started the race, and we come across the line with our fastest lap in this second heat so far, 38.373. Now obviously, as I mentioned, we want to try and beat in the 37-second lap times, and if you will see off in the distance, you see Harley Smith, who has come back from his national adventures, and he is now running away in this one in 1st position. Now we didn't want him to get too far away too quickly, so obviously as we know Harley is a very good driver, and if he's going to be given the opportunity to peg his way off into the distance, then he's going to not take a second opportunity to do so. So we want to try and work with some of the other guys up ahead, but you can see that I'm just a little bit slower here, and I'm not quite on the back of the train that has begun to form up ahead of us, and we're getting loaded from behind, which was also making me a little bit angry. See, Andreas sends a move down the inside of Jason there, that shakes up the pack a little bit, but unfortunately, due to being just a little bit too far behind, we're not able to follow Sam, Kelvin and Andreas past Jason, and therefore we are now stuck behind the mobile roadblock, as we're going to call him. He loves it. So we're behind Jason here, and we are in fact going to skip forward in this one, because quite frankly we were just sat in a train for quite a little bit more time, so don't really want to bore you guys with that too much. So you can see so far we are a little bit slow. We got Andreas up ahead in the train at the moment. Kelvin's managed to squeeze his way through. We got Sam behind, and Jason is in front of us. So we are still in this train of 4 of us. Then got Kelvin up ahead, and he is battling with one of the other drivers that is up in 2nd position currently, and Harley has managed to run off into the distance. You can see him there on the left hand side going down the ramp there, so he's created quite a bit of a gap for himself, and we didn't really want to try and let him escape. You can see Sam's now gone for a move down the inside of Andreas. Jason's followed him through, and I fancy my chances, diving in quite late on the last corner, and I managed to slot through as well up into 6th place. So we're now up 1 position compared to where we started in 7th. Obviously a lot of battling was going on in this one, and it was actually a really fun event to be involved in. However, obviously as I thought I had a 5-second penalty, I thought I was a lot further down in this race compared to where I actually was at this point in time. Now you can see Jason and Sam managed to slot their way past the driver in car number 18. I try and follow him through. I think better of it and decide to back out. I look for the inside here once again, but I am being pressured from behind by Andreas as well, so I didn't want to make any rash decisions. I decided it's better off just to wait out this lap and try and go for a move when the opportunity arises later on in the race. So again, we're just tagging along the driver in front of us. We are being slowed down a fair bit here. As you can see, Sam and Jason are beginning to race off into the distance, catching up to Kelvin. and I didn't want to be stuck behind this driver for too long, as I knew that if I was, then I was just going to lose more and more time, and it's more time that I would have to make up later in the race. So I decided to stick to the inside here, going up the ramp and managing to squeeze my way through, beating the driver to the apex, and that now meant that we were back up into P5, so we managed to take 2 positions so far this race. Obviously being down in 9th, it looks like we've done a lot more. However, we have skipped forward again quite a fair bit into this race, because quite frankly we were just sat behind Jason. Sam managed to break away with Kelvin, and they had caught up to Harley at this point, so the top 3 were up ahead, and Harley was doing a superb job of defending in this one. He was holding up the 2 guys behind him really well, and he'd been doing it for a good solid amount of time as well. So unfortunately for me, by being stuck behind Jason, we were being put under pressure by Robbie, who was behind us. He was quite quick on the night as well. Managed to hold it down the inside, put a little bit of a switch back on us, and take the position from us once again. Now, I knew that Robbie was quicker than me on the evening due to his sheer weight advantage. I'm not going to use that excuse, but he is quite a bit lighter than us, and I knew that Robbie has been down to the track a lot more than me at the moment. Obviously, I haven't been down to the track as much as I probably would like to at the moment, just to save a bit of money, save a bit of mental endurance ready for next year as well. Obviously don't want to completely just burn ourselves out at the track, because in my opinion there's no point going every single week to the same track, especially if you are used to it and it doesn't really gain you too much. But you can see already how much time Jason and Robbie have been able to gain on us just from making a few mistakes on that lap. But we do come across the line with a 37.909, so I knew at this point that Robbie was absolutely flying, and if I was ever going to be able to get past him again, I would need Jason to hold him up for a little bit longer until I managed to catch back up. And as it happened, this is exactly what happened here. Robbie tries to sort of move to the outside to try and get some sort of switch back on Jason as he comes around the top section of the track. Begins to get a little bit held up here, goes for a huge dive bomb down the inside of Jason. Jason holds the inside line, and I was going to capitalise on that by following him through on the inside, managing to take the inside line from Robbie, which obviously allows me to take the position from him once again. So we're back up into 5th now at this point, and I was trying to say to Robbie, look, let's work together, we can both get past him quite easily. There's no need to sort of force our way through and do any silly things and get more penalties. So we're back up into 5th here. Obviously Jason is in 4th, got a couple of back markers up ahead that I was hoping to capitalise on if Jason was to get stuck. So you can see here Jason is not hanging about at all, forcing his way down the inside and scaring the back marker off of the racing line. Did say thank you to them as we went past. They did move out of the way. So here I was just trying to pick my moment to get past Jason. Jason loves to defend, so obviously if we're going to get right up behind him, he's immediately going to start holding the inside line. So I wanted to try and catch him by surprise if I could. I didn't really want to go up behind him, tapping him, because obviously if you do that, he's going to know you're there, he's going to look over his shoulder, he's going to start driving very defensively. So instead of that, I've decided to back off a little bit and spring a really big lunge down the inside. Not the cleanest of moves, but we were able to get up the inside of him on that bottom hairpin as he opened the corner up, and that allowed us to squeeze our way up into 4th. However, this was very short-lived, as Robbie once again has gone for a dive bomb into the first hairpin there at the top section of the track, and I knew once again that he was pretty much going to race away from us once he got past us. So you can see him looking over his shoulder, but the amount of speed he was getting on the exit, I just couldn't do anything about this really. So again, you can see he's getting held up by the back markers a little bit, but I didn't really want to be fighting Robbie too much, because I didn't want to give Jason behind us too much of an opportunity to come back at us and probably end up getting stuck behind him once again for the later parts of the race. So at this point in the race, we skip forward once again, and you see that we have managed to actually catch up to the train that Harley has begun to create. You have Kelvin in 2nd, Sam in 3rd, and Robbie in 4th. Now Robbie did zoom ahead of us and catch up to the back of these guys quite quickly, whereas due to Harley defending as strong as he has, wow, I say that as Kelvin sends a huge dive bomb on him and makes the move stick up into 1st position. We actually did manage to catch up quite slowly, and you can see that we have sprung a bit of a surprise attack on Robbie. However, unfortunately, due to just running a little bit wide and getting bumped from behind, we did sort of put Robbie into the wall there, and that obviously led to us gaining our first official penalty of the race. Obviously, I didn't mean to push Robbie into the wall completely and sort of push him out, but I was just getting pressured from behind, and I had to try and get past him as quickly as I could, but it just ended up with him sort of getting pushed into the wall a little bit. So a bit of an unfair move from myself. We are up into 4th, however, and now on the right hand side you will see that we have been administered the under review board, which later turned into a 5-second penalty. Now at this point I thought I had 10 seconds worth of penalties in this race, so I thought that I was down in about 10th. Didn't think I was in 4th, and I thought pretty much the day was over. However, as I mentioned, our first board of 5 seconds wasn't actually a penalty, and you can see whoever's behind us, I can't remember if it was Robbie or if it was someone else, but they weren't too happy with the way I was driving it, giving me a good old load going through a few of the corners, and it was just causing me to get pushed off the racing line where it's a bit warmer, there was more grip, and it was just causing the car to slide a lot more. So once again, from being out of the tow from the guys up ahead, I just wasn't really able to tag onto the back of Sam here, even though he's trying his hardest to get past Harley, and Harley's just having absolutely none of him, which was great to see. So you can see here again, we are within the same sort of range. We're not particularly losing loads of time, but we're also not right up behind Sam, Harley and Kelvin, who is racing off ahead. But we have come across the line with our fastest lap of the evening, and that was a 37.538, which I was really happy with. Obviously, I haven't been down to the track in about a month, I believe, from the time of recording this video. So coming down here and getting a mid 37-second lap, I was really happy with this, and I'm hoping next time to go down for the 3rd round of the Grid Series Championship, which is obviously a month after this was filmed, hoping to get into the low 37-second laps, because I know there is some new front tyres coming on the karts very soon, and who knows, the golden age of Bristol could be back. We could be getting down into PB range of 36.6, who knows, we'll have to find out the next time we go down. However, you can see we have some beautiful fighting going on up ahead. Harley holding the inside line compared to Sam. Obviously, it's pretty evident to see that the kart Harley was driving just wasn't really as quick as some of the others, and he was doing an absolutely superb job of defending against Sam, who's obviously one of the quicker drivers on the track. So the way he was just holding up the inside line, this was just not allowing Sam to really find a way of getting past without trying to go around the outside. And obviously if he tried to go around the outside, it was going to open up the door to the inside, and that was going to allow me a little bit of an opportunity to try and slot my way past him as well. So you can see here, I'm trying to wait for Sam to make a mistake, really. We are in a nice little neat train, saying thank you to the back marker once again as we've gone past them. But for me in this one, I was hoping to get into 3rd if I could, or maybe even 2nd. However, I knew that Harley was just going to park it, and park the bus he did. So obviously due to this, Sam's trying to find his way past, and as I mentioned, I just wanted to try and wait to see if Sam was going to make a mistake. If I was a little bit closer or got a little bit of a better run out of the Mickey Mouse section, I could have tried to go for the inside of Sam there, going into the bottom hairpin, but unfortunately just wasn't quite getting the drive out of the corner, and this meant that I just couldn't quite go for a move. And unfortunately, Robbie was having none of it as well. He's right up behind us, trying to dive down the inside once again, bumping us offline. And again, going into the last corner, we just get tapped wide here, going onto the slippery parts of the track, and that just opens the door up enough for Robbie to get through. I was shaking my head there, wasn't happy with that one. But we were sat behind him, and we were just going to try and make our way back through. Now, unfortunately, guys, for the rest of the video, we are just sat in this train of the 4 of us going round, and my camera has decided once again, as you can see, Robbie got a 5-second penalty for that move on me. Unfortunately, guys, the camera hasn't picked up the last 3 laps of the race once again, so this is something I am going to be sorting out for the new year. I have got some new GoPro batteries on the way. We're going to try and get this sorted out, because it's really getting on my nerves how it keeps skipping out really key parts of each of the events I've been doing so far. Obviously, last time out at SRK, we missed out the final, where I think I made up about 12 positions, which is really annoying in the B final. And here today, it skipped out the last 3 laps of the race, which were quite crucial, if I'm honest, because at this point, me and Robbie both had a 5-second penalty. So if I was going to beat Robbie, I would have to beat him on track. And as a matter of fact, I did manage to overtake Robbie on the very last lap of the race. He tried to go around the outside of Sam coming into this corner here that you are seeing now, and I was just able to slot the car up the inside and managed to finish in 4th position. So at the end of this race, we did manage to finish in 4th position, and Harley managed to steal the 1st place in the middleweights from us from having such a good drive in this second heat. Obviously, me and Andreas, both in the middleweights, who did the 1st round, we obviously had a little bit of a stinker. We both had penalties as well. I think half the grid ended up having penalties in this one, so that meant that Harley won the event for the middleweight. We finished in 2nd position, and then we had Aaron finishing in 3rd. So it was a really good event. I really enjoyed it. Very competitive racing and very argy-bargy, which is not something that I've been used to a lot recently. It's been quite placid outdoors. Had a nice clean run of it, but that does in fact bring us to the end of the video, guys, as we come around on this lap. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. If you have, can you please leave a like on the video down below, as I really do appreciate it. And if you're new to the channel, or if you haven't already, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as I really do appreciate it and it really does help me out. Down below in the description is in fact my Instagram, which will keep you guys up to date with all the things I've been getting up to, especially during this winter break season. I've got a few things planned, but I'm just trying to figure out what I can do, really. So down below in the pinned comment down below, sorry, I am going to link the new team that I'm driving for, that I've created with Harley Smith, which is the Connecticut Racing team, which, as I mentioned, is linked down below as the pinned comment. I really would appreciate it if you could go and give us a follow and just give us as much support as you can. We have a lot planned going into 2024, including BRKC, which I'm so excited to be a part of this year. I'll be bringing out the final outdoor video for this year from the last round of Club 73. Obviously no onboard footage, so I'll rustle something up for that. But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.